We wanted to bring people together, not only people that directly serve people with disabilities, but agencies that do community programming and are interested in including people with disabilities, could come together and really brainstorm and get to know each other and learn how to support each other in this movement to have the community become responsible for supporting people with disabilities beyond just direct service people.
Everybody that was there, from parents to providers to partners to the folks that we're serving, and to hear all those points of view all in one room and in the different seminars with the ability to focus was just a really educational epiphany kind of experience. I enjoyed it.
I felt like we as a team had really just accomplished something that nobody else in the country was even doing at this time. And it was a unique, one-of-a-kind opportunity to start a movement.
There were some funny moments. People are telling great stories. There were some really touching moments when I'm so glad people were comfortable enough to tell us a lot of personal things, and it really helped me realize how important it is to be including people, because we're helping them form lifelong friendships, make connections in the community, and live lives that everybody wants to live.
That's what was so good about the forum, is that we all were like, we want this. How do we get there? And we're gonna, roll up our sleeves and let's get to work.
We wanted to make sure that there were many, many voices that were actually heard and sharing ideas. We consciously decided that instead of the typical groups we might have worked with, which would have been organizations that directly serve people with disabilities, we went to our partners, to the organizations we know value and are committed to including people with disabilities. And they really took the ball and ran with it, and they really helped add to getting other organizations there, what the topics were going to be for the presentations. They actually were the presenters, and so that was pretty amazing.
I fully believe that the Arcadia Institute could have probably pulled this off without our help, but I think because we were part of it, we were able to really give just a whole different perspective on it. And so I think if you're first going to start on trying to develop a forum like that, you got to think of who do you want to be as your partner, who's going to set and go through all these meetings and do all this development, and really just throw everything you know about a conference out the door and just start all over.
I'm hoping to meet lots of new people and learn more about the Community Participation Initiative.
Just to learn about community partnerships, learn as much as I can.
Just to collaborate with people and just get ideas on how inclusion has worked with them.
To share my experiences being autistic.
To have good success and talk about anything that comes my way.
I really hope that bringing the community together with people from all different backgrounds and all different views coming at the same problem will come up with a really good way of addressing it in the future, or different ways of addressing it in the future. And not just from the point of view from the Arcadia Institute, but from the point of view of what can the community do.
I'm hoping to stay awake.
The first thing that people saw when they came into the forum was people greeting them, and there was a welcome wall. Everybody could sign their signature on the wall, so everyone right off the bat felt included and welcomed, but very curious about how this day was going to go. We did do a short orientation about how things were going to work. We had some presentations by participants. One young man spoke.
They've helped me get integrated in a few organizations, such as, I took a photography class.
Another young man actually showed a DVD that's about him that he's created with a companion of his. And then we knew that we right away wanted to get into smaller groups so that people could really learn from each other. Once we had the attendance list, we really had to sit down and we figured by individual person which group we were going to put them in. And we were very, very picky about making sure that participants were scattered among all the groups. Parents, if they were there, were scattered. We also made sure that the supports coordinators and other advocacy agencies were scattered among the groups. The first topic was Journey to Inclusion, which the Boy Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club, they wanted to do that because they would tell you that while they've included kids with disabilities, they've become more intentional about it over the last few years.
You pass on these disabilities.
My role, along with Jill from the Boys and Girls Clubs was to explain as a nonprofit serving youth our journey, how we got started in, okay, we recognized a need. Okay, with this need, what kind of help's available? What kind of assistance is available? What kind of training? That is kind of what we were there for, to let other folks know that might be where we were a year ago, the steps we took, and the kind of assistance is available from Arcadia. And not only that, but the other state agencies and organizations they put us in contact with. They're an awesome clearinghouse.
Then the next topic was culture of inclusion. And we know that the YMCA and the Nature Center have been at this for quite a while now. And so they talked about everything from an organization's mission to their business plan to their evaluation of how you include people with disabilities.
I was a presenter with Chris, and we talked for maybe 5-10 minutes, but the rest of it was people engaging with us, asking questions, taking us in directions we hadn't thought of, and that was really great. We got to have dialogue. A lot of people had some concerns about inclusion, and since we've been through it, we were able to say, you know, this is a valid concern. You know, we talked about what some pitfalls may be, what some things to think about are, hurdles. I think as long as there's the communication, all the kind of, you know, difficulties I've seen, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work, and I have to say, we got to try next time. This didn't work out. But I always am, you know, talking. I've had to send kids home. But I say, this didn't work out. This is when you're ready to do this thing, you're welcome to come back. I don't want you to stay away.
What really made it fun and exciting and energetic was the chance to listen to other people's input and find out what are the problems, the situations, the scenarios that they're working with and dealing with on a daily basis, and how do they deal with them? What are the creative manners that they find solutions? You know, what steps do they take at an administrative level or a programming level to ensure that they have an environment and a culture of inclusion?
The third session was about why inclusion matters, and Sarah Burhans led that with a participant and a parent.
You know, when I think about inclusion, it's not taking Jacob and making him fit and conform to the standards and to the norm, but it's the community accepting him for his abilities and his strengths and looking at him as a child first. First and foremost, he's 10, and that's what we have to remember.
And this was really important because oftentimes when we think of inclusion, we see that somebody is there and they're participating in activity. But what this parent and this participant talked about was how they develop relationships that are their relationships. Then the last thing that we did was kind of a nuts and bolts session, and I did that with Diane Ostenfeld from Sherman Lake Camp.
Parents call me back and they've said, well, I'd like to send, you know, little Allison to camp again. And they say to me that they just feel very happy that their child feels so welcome and so warm and part of the family. And that's really what I'm trying to do when I build that relationship with the parents.
We talked about her system for building that relationship with the parent and with the camper as well. Then the afternoon session, we put groups together by similar affiliation of why they were there. So we had a group of parents, we had a group that was supports coordinators, we had a group that was advocacy agencies, we had a group that was people that were visiting here from around the state, and we had a group of people that do the programming for organizations like maybe the camp director or the program director at the Boys and Girls Club. And then the last group that we had was a group of leaders of these organizations and executive directors. And in putting them in those groups, they were able to really talk about what they could do as part of their organization to foster building this community of belonging.
We had people that were doing things with ROI, and they were case managers, and then we had, you know, Prevention Works and Girls on the Run and the Boy Scouts. I mean, these are all really different community organizations, but they all wanted the same thing. They all want to let people know that they want everybody to be included into their programs, and they just need to know how to do that, or they need to make sure that there's other resources for everybody. So.
At the end of the day, we really felt like we had built a community of belonging within that group because everyone, I think, felt like they belonged to part of this movement. And that's why it's really, really important that moving forward, we get more people to join our network, we get more people that are willing to share ideas, and that we feel very responsible at the Arcadia Institute that we keep that momentum going through regular contacts with people via conference calls or other gatherings that we'll be having in the future.
Everybody who was there was really passionate about inclusion and passionate about building community. And they really demonstrated that, not only in the things they were saying, but their attentiveness throughout the day, the questions they were asking, and I think their commitment to supporting each other and supporting the work that they're doing.
I think the best thing about today was people's attitudes. Everyone was really positive, very optimistic about what is possible to be doing in the future. People have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of connections in the communities, and to start with the assumption of everyone's going to cooperate and all these businesses and organizations in the community are going to be happy to work with us, it's really great to hear that optimism, and it makes you just want to take charge and go out there and get it.
Today was just an eye-opener that we can take these little bits and pieces and go out into the streets and into the community and make the wonderful virus of inclusion spread.
What's different about Kalamazoo and why things are working is that they start out with the assumption that the community and the local community organizations want to do the right thing and want to include people with disabilities, and that we don't have to threaten and beat them into it. We just need to help them learn how to do it and build the confidence to go ahead and do it.
Arcadia has been fantastic. They do a wonderful job of, I think, supporting families individually, but then also looking at this larger community conversation and making that happen, because otherwise, again, we just do our day-to-day work and it takes somebody to pull us all together to have those conversations.
To be inclusive and to be accepting is what we want. We want participative citizens. We want active citizens. We want young men and young women that will grow up to contribute to this world and to give back and to realize there are those that are different, but they're not.
When I first entered, I saw a lot of pictures around. I see a lot of people here who I didn't know that well. But then when I got a chance to meet the people, I got really interested into knowing their ideas.
I think the most compelling thing was the folks with disabilities talking about their experiences and the parents that spoke. I'd say that was the best part of the experience. That's probably the thing that's going to stick with me the longest and will motivate me in my role to do something different.
Like if I think about my own childhood and how those things made who I am today, and I had those experiences, I don't want to take that away from anybody. And if I can provide that for every kid in the city of Kalamazoo or the county of Kalamazoo, regardless of what's going on in your life, put me on the list. I mean, I want to be on that team, and I think that's what everybody wants. So I think that's what was so good about the forum, is that we all were like, we want this. How do we get there? And we're gonna, roll up our sleeves and let's get to work.
No movement has ever started by just one person telling everybody else what to do. It has started when people all decide that there's something that needs to happen. And so by everyone adopting in our community that everyone should be included and everyone should take care of each other, then we're going to be able to spread our resources around.
Coming out of this forum, even if you weren't there that day, we want you to be part of this movement, and we want you to join us. Join us in becoming a community that's accepting and building a community of belonging.